Don't touch anything. Hi, I'm Scott Ott, and this is Bill Whittle now. And Bill, that is the word from a story in The Hill by an Annie, I can't read my own writing, Amie Parnes at The Hill, said basically that's the strategy of the Biden campaign going into what is now fewer than 30 days remaining until the final day of the 2020 presidential campaign. The don't touch anything strategy basically means that the Biden campaign believes it's winning and is committed to running out the clock without making any major mistakes. The former vice president is making public appearances, but generally just about one a day. He's avoiding interview settings where he could possibly say something controversial. He does have, by the way, on the night when the presidential debate was scheduled to happen, he does have a town hall meeting on one of the major networks where he will be fielding questions from the audience. But Bill, what do you think of the idea of the guy who is not the incumbent, basically saying, let's just ride this out. Things are going well. Let Trump make the mistakes. I'm not going to make any.
Couldn't be happier.
How so?
Well, as a person who has experienced a great deal of heartbreak at the hands of the Florida Gator football team, and a great deal of joy as well, I might add, there is nothing more horrible than having a lead and then deciding just to run out the clock. Especially when your opponent is surging. I don't believe Trump is behind. I did a week ago, but I really let these polls just get to me in a way I should not have. When I see the enthusiasm gap between what President Trump did in Florida yesterday in Pennsylvania compared to Joe Biden standing there on a platform talking to 7 or 8 cars with 2 security guards and an empty rail between him and any supporters that might have shown up, I simply tell myself that this is the issue. You can poll all you want to, but the bottom line is who's going to come out and go to a rally? You made this point yesterday on Right Angle. It's more difficult to go to a rally than it is to go and vote. And if Trump supporters are coming out in huge numbers to go to rallies and Biden supporters aren't, then that tells me more than the polls need to do. But the reason I'm happy about this is because this ride out the clock strategy sometimes wins, but it never inspires. And even if your team is ahead, this, up the middle, punt, up the middle, punt thing, running down the clock is disheartening to your own fans as well as to inspire the other team. I don't want to turn everything in life into a football analogy, but sometimes everything in life is a football analogy.
Let me make some different sports analogies for you.
Sure.
Chris Lehane, who's a Democratic
presidential.
Soccer. What's that?
No soccer.
No soccer. No. I said football, not.
You said
not
sports.
That.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. So that's not football. Anyway, Chris Lehane, who's a Democratic presidential campaign veteran, tells The Hill that while Team Biden is indeed milking the clock, importantly, they're not sitting on the ball, but looking to score when there is an open shot. So that's kind of hockey, soccer, football. But in any case, he says,
it's not football.
And given that the other team, meaning the Trump team, does not really seem to have an especially fulsome defense, there are a lot of open layups. So we go to basketball here.
Oh my God.
So the idea here is it's not that they're completely, putting a lid on the news at 8:30 or 9:30 in the morning, as it was suggested a couple of weeks ago that they're doing, but really they're just kind of laying low, taking advantage of open opportunities, but not going out of their way to do things that might entail a degree of risk that could cost them.
Might as well run this into the ground. Their problem is that their quarterback should have retired 35, 40 years ago. They have no offense, none. And so what they're doing is they're minimizing the time that their offense is on the team, and they're trying to play defense. And it is an indication that, to me, that they have realized that, just take yesterday as we record this. Yesterday, Joe Biden, I think it was yesterday, day before, this week anyway, Joe Biden gave a speech where he said that the numbers of people died were something like 193,406,293. He said that there were 6 million military deaths of COVID-19. There's actually 7. He was
not 7 million,
but
7.
7, yes, 7. Okay. There are 7. He he could not read from a piece of paper numbers that had anything more than 4 digits behind them. He simply couldn't read them. And I think what the Democrats are doing here is they're looking at the fact that Donald Trump is polling, forget the polling. Donald Trump is pulling, is what I meant to say, tens of thousands of enthusiastic people everywhere he goes on short notice, and it is a party. It's not just we got to get out there and win this thing. You know, we've got no. It's a party. It's just fun.
So, as you probably know, Bill, that's feeding into the left and the mainstream media's assessment of how these two candidates are running their campaigns, because I watch CNN on the monitor here when I'm doing other things. And when they show a big crowd of people at a Trump rally, everybody on screen shakes their head and tisk, tisk, tisks because of the violation of social distancing and not enough people are wearing masks and things like that. So the responsible one is Joe Biden, who's out there speaking to the lack of a crowd.
Joe Biden is, without question, by far, he is deep, deep, deep into the riskiest COVID-19 category as far as survivability goes. Deep into it. He cannot, if he gets COVID-19, I don't think there's much doubt that it would kill him. He is that weak already. He's that tired already. They can say that he's not tired, but when they put a 9:30 a.m. lid on him, Joe Biden cannot risk getting infected by this virus. On the other hand, the president of the United States got infected with the virus, and he was in the hospital for a couple of days. And 4 days after they let him out, he was dancing on the stage in Sanford, Florida. Now, the reason that this is important is because Donald Trump's recovery reflects what the American people are seeing with their own eyes. It's not the same as what they're hearing from the experts, but it reflects what they're seeing with their own eyes. This idea of mass wisdom is really, really important. And Scott, can I just take a moment to make that very quick weighing the ox analogy?
The show, I believe, is called Bill Whittle Now.
No, well, in that case, then to hell with you. There is a phenomenon, and it's been scientifically proven. There's a phenomenon that deals with the wisdom of crowds, with the wisdom of large numbers of people. And the classic example of this was back just after the turn of the 20th century. There was a competition at a seaside resort in England. And the competition was, back when people were eating oxen, there was a gigantic, enormous bull ox brought in. And the competition was whoever can guess the weight of this ox will get the ox, and that's food for a year or whatever. And so everybody entered the competition, including farmers who bred the oxes and butchers who made a living by figuring out how much these things weigh per pound. And what a noted statistician discovered to his amazement was that if you took all of the votes, every single one of the votes cast by thousands of people, and averaged those votes out, that number came within 1.5 pounds of the weight of this 800-pound ox, and was by far the most accurate guess. It was a better guess than the butchers made. It was a better guess than the farmers made.
In the aggregate for both, right? The aggregate of the crowd and the aggregate of the butchers and farmers.
The aggregate of the crowd, including the butchers and farmers, was a much more precise weight of the ox than what the individual experts had predicted.
I see.
Much closer. And this kind of thing has been seen again and again and again and again and again. Now, when they studied this phenomenon, they studied it in detail. They found it happened again and again and again. They used it in military simulations, all of that. But what they found was that for this wisdom of the crowd to work, you needed 2 preconditions. And these were essential preconditions. Without it, the whole thing falls apart. The first precondition is you need a diverse crowd, meaning you need every kind of opinion. You need the village drunk to come in and say the thing weighs 4,000 pounds. You need every single opinion available in order to zero in on the target. And that diversity, the wider the net you throw in terms of opinions, the more accurate your answer is going to be. That's the first thing. The second thing is that the crowd needed to be unbiased. And what the best example of that would be is if you've got 1,000 people trying to guess the weight of an ox, and you get a guy in the crowd says, look, I'm a butcher and the thing weighs 850 pounds. Then everybody's going to start skewing their votes away from what they originally thought towards what they think the experts think. And you move off a target. So the reason I go to all this trouble to explain this is that the American reaction to COVID-19 has perfectly followed both the wisdom of the crowds and followed the distraction, the inaccuracies that are caused by people like the mainstream media saying, no, the ox weighs 850 pounds. What I'm trying to say here is, if the Democrats are saying that Donald Trump rallies with 10,000, 20,000, 40, 50,000 people dancing in the streets having a good time, with a president who is biologically immune to the virus, at least for a while, he's got COVID-19 antibodies. If they're saying that that's a bad thing, then I think this thing's going to be a Trump victory, and I think it's going to be a runaway Trump victory.
Well, here's how they're positioning this in this article in The Hill by Amie Parnes. It's and this, I have not researched this claim, but this is just presented as a simple declarative sentence. No other recent presidential challenger has maintained such a lead against an incumbent with less than a month to go before the election. And then earlier in the story, they quote this unnamed Democratic strategist as saying, if the election were held today, they, meaning the Biden team, would win. They know it. And more importantly, Trump knows it. Do you think Trump knows it?
Well, I think Biden is showing a more he's showing a greater lead over anyone in history, with the exception of President Hillary Clinton. And so you've got to factor that into there.
So
Donald Trump's approval ratings, generally speaking, are above 50%. And when a president's approval ratings are above 50%, they win. Wayne Allen Root, who I've been on as a guest on his radio show many times, pointed out some other interesting facts. He said that no incumbent president has ever lost re-election if he failed to carry, has never lost re-election if he carried more than 75% of his primary votes. If during the primary, a president of either party has more than 75% votes of his primary, that's a sign that his base is intact, then they have never lost re-election. And Donald Trump has a support of 96% of the votes that were cast in the primary.
Which is more than 70?
I believe it is. And so there are a number of historical trends that are in place here, but I'm glad we can come back to end this on the football analogy.
Even the, I'm sorry, you were about to make another football analogy.
Yeah, one more last. What
Go
the
ahead.
hell? You know, people get their money's worth. And ESPN's unwatchable now anyway, so you might as well come here for your sports. The thing about protecting a lead is that it means that by definition you are going to play conservative ball. You're going to play to not lose. That inspires the other team to loosen up because they got nothing to lose at this point, down by 4 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. So they start playing aggressive football, and the opposing team with the lead is playing very conservative football. And then the challenger scores, and then the leader says, "Okay, well, touchdown, what's the big deal?" Then they score again. Then the leaders start to get worried, and the challengers are getting extremely fired up, and then it happens again. And we've seen this in sport events. We've seen it in different sports. We've seen it everywhere. It doesn't happen all the time, but the operational word here is momentum. Momentum. There are times when I have watched football games where I was convinced that at the third quarter break, both teams had gone into their locker room, switched jerseys, and come back out again. That is how different momentum is. That is the power of momentum in terms of the surging challenger, and it's the terror of momentum watching as the leader, watching this train get closer and closer and closer. And in a situation like this, I'd much rather be the team with momentum. And there's no question that Trump has the momentum now.
If only for your own base. The idea of saying, hey, team, get out there and try not to screw it up is
not just the base.
No, I'm saying, but Biden's base, to try to inspire them to turn out, to go out there and say, hey guys, we're following a guy who's just trying to not screw it up, is not nearly as inspirational as a guy who's trying to change the country in the future.
Right, exactly. What the Democrats have announced is that Joe Biden is not going to be making any more appearances on account of his insurmountable lead. I think he's not going to be making any more appearances on account of his insurmountable ability to finish a sentence. But put that wherever you wish.
And that's a little hyperbole. They didn't say he's not making any more appearances.
Well, you get the idea. Donald Trump, on the other hand, is flying around in a blue and white jet and making 3-4 appearances a day, and he is as full of energy as I have ever seen anybody his age. And his base is fired up. We're seeing Trump parades. We're seeing Trump road parades. We're seeing Trump people at Biden events with more Trump supporters at a Biden event than Biden could bring. We saw Donald Trump win more votes in California unopposed than either Biden or Sanders in the primary, although not more than both of them combined. And I saw a campaign event yesterday for Bernie Sanders out on the trail for Joe Biden, and there was, honest to God, nobody there. I thought, no, surely this must just be a picture of the stage. It's a sound check or something. But no, there he was, 2 people in the crowd. And that is the only poll that really counts, because that is the only thing that is not the product of a phone call or a simulation or a computer program or any of that stuff. This is a case of who you're going to believe. Democratic pollsters are your own lying eyes.
Can I ask a final question here related to that? And we've got to keep it quick here. But earlier this week, you said, where's Barack Obama? Meaning that Obama hadn't been on the campaign trail. This morning on National Public Radio, I heard them saying that Barack Obama is about to go out on the campaign trail. Obama is famous with regard to Joe Biden for having reportedly said, never underestimate the ability of Joe Biden to F things up. Do you think putting Obama out there at this time helps Biden, or do you think it makes it look like Biden is weak and needs the help from a guy who didn't seem to have much confidence in him?
I'm confused. I thought Biden had an insurmountable lead and no longer needed to go out and campaign. What does he need Barack Obama for?
I'm sure this was scheduled many months ago.
Really?
No, I'm not sure.
No, I'm not sure either. Let's not forget that of all of the Democratic Party leadership, and I'm talking about going down to governors and House representative, state senators and stuff. Barack Obama was the last major Democrat to endorse Joe Biden. And he did it with the enthusiasm of a guy who's been asked to move furniture for a friend and has a truck. And the fact that Obama was the last and not the first person to endorse Biden was always a big indication to me. And the fact that Barack Obama had been kept basically out of the fight when his taste for glory and applause is insatiable is telling me that Barack Obama is as good at reading crowds as I am. That Barack Obama did not want to go out on the road and speak to empty rooms for a candidate that he doesn't like, that he doesn't believe in, and that he doesn't really support. Eventually, the pressure can get high enough so that he'll make an appearance. And I suspect what this really is, Scott, is I think Barack Obama's appearances can probably best be likened to Mark Hamill's appearances after The Last Jedi. You hate the movie, you hate everything about it, you hate your role in it, but you're under contract, so you have to go. And you do the bare bones minimum number of press conferences and you say your platitudes about the thing, and then you get the hell out of there. But I'm going to be very interested to see how many appearances Barack Obama makes, and I'm especially interested, not in what he says about Joe Biden, but how he says it. His endorsement for Obama, his on-camera endorsement, of Obama for Biden, was the most tepid thing I have ever seen in my life. It was like watching a guy read instructions on how to install a wall air conditioner. And I maintain that this is entirely what election's about, and I think the entire thing is a giant psychological operation to suppress the Trump vote, and it doesn't seem to be working.
And those who came out to see Mark Hamill, it was not because of the most recent movie, but because of the movie that they really liked.
That's exactly correct.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're glad you had a chance to watch this. We are delighted that we had a chance to do it, and it is possible because of people that we call the members at BillWhittle.com. They went to that website, they clicked that big green button, they signed up, and they became part of the team that loves liberty and is spreading this song around the world. If you'd like to be part of that, go to BillWhittle.com right now and click that Become a Member button. For Bill Whittle, I'm Scott Ott. Thanks for watching.